This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Beneroff, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. White Plains Week, what's happening, who are the newsmakers, what's in store for the future. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening. I'm John Bailey. This is the saddest White Plains Week program I'm doing since 9/11. This is the front page yesterday that speaks for itself. You watched as I did after the senator was rudely interrupted at 2 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, and thousands did what they did. This was the aftermath on January the 7th. The sun came up that next day with a somber sadness I could sense, and in the dawn, the moon was shedding a teardrop. The waning crescent moon of January 7th. The waning or waxen crescent moon is the last phase of the 8 phases of the moon every quarter. So, I propose that January 6th be declared a National Observance Day called the Day of No Return. It'll be a day where all of us renew the resolve that there will be no return of taking the law into our own hands. There will be no return of hating others ever. That there will be no return of destruction of others' property. That there will be no return of disrespect for others' ideas. No return of believing what you in your heart know to be wrong. No return to disrespecting. No return to selfishness. No return to disagreeing disagreeably, violently, and thinking it's justified. No return to a double standard by class, race, or upbringing. That's one man's opinion. The day of no return is to remind us soberly of what we all are capable of in our worst moments. There are 2 big events this week. Coronavirus and the vaccinations now going on in Westchester County, USA, and the rest of New York State and the country. But Governor Andrew M. Cuomo started the week troubled about how hospitals are administering the vaccines.
The 10 fastest and the 10 slowest, and it's Department of Health data that they confirmed. By the way, it embarrassed some hospitals that were slow performers. It wound up showing some hospitals that were performing very well, and the ones who were performing very well were happy, and the ones who were shown to be slow were upset. But life is about accountability. Some of the hospital management said in defense things that were not true. The data that was reported was not for allocations they had just received. It was from allocations they had received over the first 2 weeks and not the most recent allocation. So they were slow in distributing older allocation. Also, you have some hospitals who have only done half their workforce. We've only had enough allocation for half of the workforce, the healthcare workforce. But some have only done half the workforce. We have to do better than vaccinating half of our healthcare workers. If a hospital says only half of their employees will take the vaccine, we have a problem. Critical mass on this vaccine is 70 to 90%. Healthcare workers who are the most informed, I don't think it's possible or credible that only half of them will take the vaccine. I have also been deluged with phone calls of healthcare workers saying, I can't get a vaccine, and I'm going out there every day and I haven't gotten a vaccine. So it's a combination of slow hospitals and we've only had half the allocation for the healthcare. Now, when I talk about slow hospitals, I have greatest respect for nurses and doctors. I'm sure they're all doing everything they can, and they've done a fantastic job. It's the leadership that I'm talking about. You know, the nation at war and the army keeps losing. President calls and fires the general. It's not a comment on the soldiers. Soldiers are killing themselves. The general gets fired. End of the losing football season, it's the coach that gets fired. It's about the leadership. So it's nothing about the nurses and the doctors. It's about the leadership. It's about the management. It always is. And that's taking responsibility and accountability. We'll continue to release the high and the low performers, but I don't know that the data is ready to a place where we could distribute it widely.
Now, the big hospital network tapped for our area by the governor was pointed out as only having vaccinated 32% of its approximately 3,342 workers. That's a number as of 2017. And that's after 4 weeks of having had the vaccine. The governor named Westchester Medical Center as that hospital. They issued one statement to me on Wednesday, and I quote, Westchester Medical Center is moving swiftly through our vaccine allocation. Daily, we are vaccinating hundreds of our workforce members. Earlier this week, we also began administering the second dose to our workforce. We are closely following New York State guidelines for vaccine prioritization and distribution, and are working under those guidelines hand in hand with nearly 200 community partners, including county departments of health, local government, and emergency service and other community providers to deploy vaccine allocations as they become available. That has been all we have heard from the medical center. No date when they expect to finish the vaccinations of the 1A first priority doctors and employees has been issued. One thing we do know is you have to wait 3 weeks for the second shot, which could be a factor in the delay. The delay is significant based on Westchester County Executive George Latimer's coronavirus briefing on Thursday afternoon.
So the numbers we have tracked through yesterday, Wednesday, January 6th, There were 9,597 active cases of coronavirus in Westchester County as of yesterday. That basically identifies a 2-week cohort of individuals that have tested positive that have not cleared the protocol for 2 weeks. The last time we had as many as 95, almost 9,600 cases was April 22nd. April 22nd, as you may know, was about a month and a half into the start of the contagion. We rapidly expanded up to as many as 12,000 active cases, and then flattening the curve, and on the way back down, it took us to late April to be in the same situation we are in today. That should be a concerning measure for everyone. What it tells us is that the virus is far from gone. In fact, it is back, and it's been steadily rising over time. We believe that we're watching an increase generically because of colder weather, more people going indoors, more people in close quarters spreading the disease, but also the spikes that you get from Christmas and from New Year's celebrations, which, although there were no public celebrations or significant public celebrations in those lines, individuals, families, people got together and they did what they thought was appropriate. They did it because they wanted the social connection, and now we're seeing an increase in the amount of COVID. In fact, you can go back almost to Thanksgiving Day and pinpoint how the numbers started to shoot up from where we were. On Thanksgiving Day, we had approximately 1,600 active cases. We now have 9,597 at last count, and I expect that number has shown no signs of decreasing in the last 10 days. We had a period where there was some reduction, but we're back up on the upswing.
This is serious business, as anyone knows from reading WPCNR.com and watching White Plains Week. This second wave has been going on for 8 weeks. The New York State COVID tracker over the last 7 days has disturbing news. In 7 days, there you see the tracker as I've interpreted it, White Plains Week has filled in the picture for you. In the last 7 days, December 31 to January 6th, 5,525 new cases of Westchesterites testing positive for COVID have been identified. That is an average of 787 people a day being found positive. I want to repeat that. That is an average of 787 people a day. With a 5% hospitalization rate of those being tested positive in 2 weeks, we may be seeing 40 persons a day being hospitalized. Unless we cut back, that's 280 new hospitalizations in 2 weeks. That pace, unless Westchester slows it somehow, can cut sharply into the COVID beds available in the county for treatment of people really sick. Something we need to keep in mind. The average infection rate is 7.55% a day right now. In fact, as we pointed out last week, if you look at the county's own curve of positives coming up, the county is matching positives from April 8th, 2020, where we were 9 months ago. Mask up, social distance, please. There's the curve. County Executive Latimer detailed how the county center is working with the Westchester Medical Center Thursday afternoon. Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins in the briefing said the county is working with the medical center to figure how to deploy testing sites in county communities where the most infections are, to deter more infections and center testing places and pick vaccination places. Now, where are the most infections? Here's what the county dashboard for COVID says. The rundown is Portchester, 3,076 active cases with 35 new infections on January the 6th. Yonkers, 2,320 active cases 138 new positives yesterday. New Rochelle, 845 active cases, with 74 new cases on January the 6th. And White Plains has 681 active cases, 58 new ones as of January 6th. Mayor Roach did warn everyone in his Monday briefing that White Plains had gone up 50 in a week. Greenberg has 403 active, 44 new on January the 6th. Conspicuous by their absence from the briefing that Mr. Latimer conducted yesterday was anyone representing the Westchester County Medical Center. No one. No shows. Good news. I have some. The Hudson Valley Gateway Realtors Association issued fourth quarter sales results, and it is gratifying. And there you see the real estate sales. Single-family sales prices in Westchester County have gone up 19% in a year. The median price is $412,500. Co-ops, the prices have risen 8.8%. Median price is $185,000. Condos, prices have gone up 10.3%. Median price, $412,500. Multifamily homes are up 9.5% in price. Median price is $645,000. Single-family home sales have risen 57% in a year to 2,232. Are happy days here again? The report Hagar released was cautious due to the effects of the coronavirus and return of persons to the workplace. What it says to me is people are stuck in place, especially for the persons looking for their first home. They have to pay more. They may be insecure about keeping their jobs. A lot to worry about taking on a $300,000 mortgage, even at the low interest rates. And inventory is low, so that means you may get caught in a bidding war and get in over your head. It's something that we really have to talk to realtors about, and bankers, I think. And you have to be real careful about taking on debt to buy these houses at these prices. But this is good news. But as Governor Cuomo says, no one knows. It depends on the success of the vaccine rollout whether we're going to recover, ladies and gentlemen. On People to Be Heard this week, I interviewed Alex Philippidis. You can see the complete interview at www.wpcommunitymedia.org and scroll down to People to Be Heard on the video wall. There's Alex appearing on the Zoom sequence with me, and Alex Philippidis of White Plains was co-founder of White Plains Week in 2001 and is now a veteran reporter and new senior business editor of Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology News based in New Rochelle. Here's what I asked him. We started out talking mostly about COVID, and can you look at your crystal ball for us? What does COVID treatment have to achieve over the next 6 or 7 months for the vaccines to be effective and this epidemic to be stopped?
We hear a lot about achieving herd immunity, or a large percentage of the population that is protected from the virus. And there's been some fear about that in recent days because of the new variants of the virus that have been detected. Again, they increase the prospect of infection, although supposedly they're less, they're not any deadlier. But it's definitely led to increases in the caseload. So, well, that'll have to be watched. Now, the developers of the leading vaccines have been saying that their vaccines will be able to protect against those variants. We'll have to see over time how that works out. But it's getting a significant portion of population protected with these, as well as over time those that have the virus to be treated with antivirals. And one of the scariest prospects is that for some patients with this, you see breathing problems that last well beyond just a few days, and also anecdotal cases of memory loss and wooziness that you're going to need to study and address ultimately, and that's as scary as protecting yourself, even scarier than just protecting yourself from it if you're healthy.
You're right. Now, as far as getting the drugs to treat symptoms of people that already have the COVID, is my understanding that those have to be requested by hospitals?
If they're emergency use authorization drugs, yes, those have to be requested, but should be, as opposed to those that have won full approval, like the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, like Moderna, which those.
You see a problem with that? You see a problem with it?
If shortages or an inability to produce the drugs in significant numbers, then there would be the problem. If your hospital turns around and says, "Sorry, you'll have to wait a while," that's not good. That's not good.
That is not good. Alex, as usual, makes excellent sense and has a good vision. And he's absolutely right about that business of whether you're going to have enough medicines to treat the people who get sick from COVID, the business of the supply of the vaccine, and that may be part of the problems that we're having here in Westchester getting the first responders vaccinated. But be that as it may, no one knows because no one's talking. And people have to talk, people have to communicate about this whole matter. The fact that we're not getting much communication on it, except from Governor Cuomo, is not right. People need to know more. And George Latimer, the county executive, is doing his best. Last night, on Thursday evening, he had a town hall briefing on questions from COVID, and I learned a lot. And we'll be trying to put some of that into an article in the next few days on White Plains Citizen Net Reporter. But people should go and take a look at it on Facebook and watch the whole thing. I learned quite a bit about the details, and I think we really have to hear more from the Director of Health for Westchester County, Shirlita Amler, who appears in that program. And she really tells you what you do need to know and dispels a lot of hearsay about these vaccinations. So look for that on Facebook, the George Latimer Town Hall. It's well worth watching, and you'll learn a lot about all facets of it. One thing Dr. Amler did say on that program was that the schools are doing a great job restricting the incursion of COVID in the schools, and she was very positive about them. Schools are not the problem. You and me and our socializing could very well be, well, it not very well be, but it is the key to ending this COVID second wave. We have to do it, and we have to start doing it now so we can start slowing this in 3 weeks. In the spread of it, that is. The hospitalization rate is not to be taken lightly. Okay? Now, This is John Bailey saying good night, Alex, and good night, Jim Veneroff, and good night for White Plains Week.
This has been White Plains Week, news and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.